Hey, welcome everybody. Good morning, good evening, good lunchtime, whatever it is, wherever you are. I'm glad you can join me on the IT show for some live streaming today. So the title of this show, it's a bit ambiguous, I guess. It's what can Freshworks do for me? Now, that was really me asking myself a rhetorical question because I needed to move away from what I was doing at the beginning of the pandemic and decide what was next. So when the pandemic kicked off, I was busy running conferences. So we went from sort of 20 people in Scotland attending IT service management conferences to over 350. So I have seen more products and more services from IT service management companies than anybody's had hot dinners. I really have seen the absolute lot. But of course, the business of running face-to-face events disappeared off a cliff. So I wasn't able to do that anymore and had to decide what I was going to do. Now, as it happens, I was grabbed by a ServiceNow partner company and went off and worked with them for about a year looking at ITOM, which was quite an education for me. But that came to an end, and I decided to go back and have a look at all of the products which I'd seen over the past 5, 6, 7 years coming up to my show and align myself with customers to try and determine what I thought most of the customers would want. Now, there's a heck of a lot of great products out there for IT service management. I guess the obvious one would be ServiceNow. It's super popular, but also super big. So if you do want an enterprise automation platform and you're looking to integrate to ERP systems and Salesforce and Internet of Things and governance, risk and compliance, then maybe you do want to be looking at ServiceNow. It's a great product. Other products out there which also potentially command a premium product and a premium price are things like Ivanti, really good for security. So if endpoint management and patch management are at the top of your list of things that you want to do, then yeah, by all means look at Ivanti. I think that's a great solution. Others that are worthy of a mention, products like ForMe, built in Holland and originally put together for managed service providers, and it's brilliant at doing that. It can do other stuff as well, but if it's your managed service providers is your gig, then go have a look at ForMe. Another one worthy of a mention is probably Hornbill. They produced a collaboration platform before anybody else did, and that's definitely worth a look and somewhat different, that's for sure. But in the most part, I felt that Freshworks was a brilliant fit for what I wanted to do. So let me just take you through a couple of reasons why. So I've put here the old guard or fresh. And the reason for that is I used to work for a company who had a product way back in probably 2000. I think I joined the company just before the year 2000. And it was built on client server technology. And as the years passed, what happened was that bits got built on top of it and they put a web front end on it. And eventually they ended up buying another product, which was SaaS. And it all got a bit confusing. Other companies went through that same sort of cycle of buying stuff in a bit of a panic because they all wanted SaaS products. But for me, I think they probably all really would like to start again with the latest technology and a vision that aligned more with something you might see on a customer services forum like Amazon. So this is where Freshworks came in. Bit of a background story. Girish, the founder of Freshworks, originally had a bit of an issue with a television over in India. Trying to return it became a complete nightmare, and he ended up actually writing a software package for customer services, and that was what we call Freshdesk today. And that was the first Freshworks product. So it was an external customer services product, but it was built upon all the latest technology and with all of the latest customer interfaces and tracking tools and things like that we now take for granted. But at the time, it just wasn't the case. People were trying to put a square peg in a round hole and utilize IT tools to actually do customer service, and it just didn't work. So they produced Freshdesk, and that was brilliant. Flip the coin round a little bit. That product doesn't work so well for IT services. So they realized that and produced something called Fresh Service, because Fresh Service includes things like instant problem change, service portals, service requests, and key, a configuration management database and all your configuration items linked together in quite a complex way, but a very informative way. And you need all of that in the background when you're doing IT support, but you don't need it for just ticket tracking. So they ended up with two products, but real cutting edge stuff, and they look great. So if I just bring up one quick slide, because I'm not really going to do any product today, it's more about the theory of why I felt Freshworks was a good fit for me, and therefore it potentially is a good fit for other people out there. So if you have a look at that, that's kind of a splash screen for landing page, if you want to call it that, for their service desk product. This one here is actually a wrapper by a partner product called Breezy Themes. So that kind of attracted me as well, the fact that there were partner people adding in things on top of Freshworks, which for a couple of $100, you got a completely different look and feel, almost, just with a couple of clicks. So it looked great. So on the surface, a brilliant starting place, I guess. This brings me on to my microwave oven story, which you might think is a bit bonkers, but bear with me on this. I recently bought a microwave oven because I like the look and feel of the microwave oven. My previous one was 20 years old, and I bought this new funky one and got a matching kettle and toaster, just kind of because I liked the look of it. But once I started to sort of delve a little bit further, I realized that it was a massive improvement on what I had before. And it's the same for software as well. So previously, if I wanted to heat up my cup of tea, which is what I do all the time because I'm on shows like this and forget that I've got a cup of tea, and I go and heat it up in the microwave, I would have to press 3 buttons to sort out the temperature or the power of the microwave, so low, medium, high. Then another 3 or 4 for the number of seconds that I wanted, 10, 20, 30, 40. And then I could start the microwave, so 8 button presses in total. Now, new microwave, open the door, put the cup of tea in, press 1 button, and it does a swift start and runs for 1 minute on full power. So I've gone from 8 button presses to 1 button press. Now, it may sound like a mad example, but to me, that is all tied up with user interface and user experience and productivity. And the deeper I looked at the Freshworks products, they'd all focused on this as well. They'd taken the customer first approach and looked at making everything easy to use. And that really appealed to me. Bye-bye microwave oven. So something else that really appealed was the fact that Freshworks is actually a package which upgrades itself. So you don't need to upgrade Amazon, you don't need to upgrade LinkedIn or Facebook. It just happens in the background. And that's what happens with Freshworks. It makes micro upgrades in the background invisibly, and then lets you know every now and again what has appeared that's new that you might want to have a look at, and asks you, do you want to upgrade or not? Some people may not want to, but the upgrades have happened in the background. Press of a button, you'll be upgraded too. Most packages, and there are still a lot out there, including some very popular ones, still have an upgrade path, and that just blows my mind why you would need that. So an upgrade path holds a whole bunch of dangers to it, because you're upgrading in a big lump, and if you're doing that, then you're upgrading a lot of things at once. So we suddenly find out that there can be issues, and in particular where you've made changes to background databases or interfaces or anything bespoke that's going on, all of which you can do in a lot of other packages, but not in Freshworks, because it's a code-free environment whereby everything is effectively containerized, which protects you from upgrades. And also, bonus, it protects you from the big consultancy bills for making changes to things like processes or indeed doing the upgrades themselves. So all of that is just drag and drop within the product. Everything drag and drop. Totally amazing to me when I really had been selling for many, many years, tons of consultancy, go with anything. So I might be saying, hey, your upgrade's free, but it's going to take us 5 days to put it in, or we're putting it in over a weekend at double rates because it's out of hours. All of that stuff just disappears. So these all really, really appealed to me, and I felt that they would therefore appeal to a customer base. So in terms of products, I've already mentioned Freshdesk, the first product for external customer services, and Freshservice, which is the IT service management product. But also Freshservice, or Freshworks rather, started to venture into other areas that they felt that they could make simpler and smoother. So they looked at marketing and they looked at sales. And in fact, now they've merged those two together to produce Fresh Marketer Plus. So they're starting to look at single records running through a customer's life cycle, which is great. They've also produced something called Fresh Team. Now that helps with onboarding new hires and looking for them, because they felt that was a problem they were experiencing in the marketplace. So rather than try and buy something to solve it, they went out and wrote something, which is pretty cool. So lots of products out there. And the reason that I kind of like that is that you choose the products that fit you. And you can even have a mix of them. So there's not anything stopping you from having something like Freshservice dealing with your IT support, and then using Freshdesk for simple ticketing requirements. So an example there might be if you're a university and you have a student accommodation service. They don't need instant problem change or anything like that. They just need a ticket tracking service. So instead of buying the expensive Freshservice license and trying to bend it into whatever it is you're trying to do, just get a Freshdesk license and use Freshdesk instead. So that appealed to me. More things. So sitting over all of this, they got communication platforms. So they realized that people nowadays want to communicate on whatever is their favorite platform. So they introduced Fresh Chat, and that integrates to all sorts of things like WhatsApp and Twitter and all your favorite things that people of a younger generation than me communicate with all the time. I've got a 23-year-old niece. I can't remember the last time she emailed me anything. It's all on WhatsApp. And then on top of that, they've also got something called Fresh Caller. So if you're still using the phone to speak to people, and yes, there are people who would rather get a phone call, you can just integrate Fresh Caller and call them directly from whatever product you're in. So it produces an overall suite where you can pick and choose whatever you want to fit your organization. So a little diagram for you here, which is kind of my head and my thinking, I guess. That purple line there is the growth of Freshworks, both as a company and as a provider of product and services. The growth has been huge. I mean, absolutely massive. And then now on the NASDAQ, you may have spotted that in an earlier slide. Just over 10 years, they didn't exist at all. But at that time, if I'm going to the left-hand side of the diagram, there may have been plenty of other companies which were bigger than Freshworks at the time, but their market share may well have dropped, and some of them have disappeared completely or been swallowed up by larger companies, and that is happening all over the place. I don't really see a great future for smaller companies, unless they're niche players, because they can't compete with the volume of developers that the larger companies have got. So the larger companies are going to win out. There are other companies out there who are fitting into my, I suppose, legacy definition, whereby they've got a steady customer base, they're producing new stuff, but not producing it at the rate Freshworks is producing things at. So where I have got the purple triangle with business advantages in, that's just going to get bigger and bigger as the company grows. They produce more products and give their customers what they want in terms of different offerings. So, time for a glass of water, I think. It's not even that hot here, so next slide and next scene, because what I'm going to do now is take you to a different window whereby I have got some marketplace stuff going on. Now, this is the Freshworks Marketplace, something that you may not think that you needed, but if you have a quick look down there, you'll see there is a lot of stuff in there, and I'm going to look to one side and read something of it off. Not something I normally do, but I will in this case. Agent productivity, instant and asset management, bots and workflow, CRM and marketplace, chat and telephony, migration, incident tracking, knowledge management, reporting and analytics. There are tons of stuff sitting in this marketplace. If I just go over to agent productivity, you're going to start to recognize a few famous names in there. So Google, Microsoft, Trello, Skype, whatever it is that you want, there is likely to be an application sitting already in the Freshservice marketplace. Now, not many companies have got a marketplace like this. I know that ServiceNow have. I think they're probably the first. But Freshworks, for me, is definitely the next most comprehensive list of things that you can just go to the shelf and grab something and not worry about the integration. And that is a massive, massive difference from what went before. So things that you didn't know you wanted from your service management product set, because it's not just about service management, it's about all the other things that go around it to create the ecosystem that you're actually in. So service management does tend to get stuck to one side and considered to be a single entity. It isn't anymore, because loads and loads of things are now going through our service desks, and it's becoming more of a service hub than a service desk. And if you can get all of those integral pieces around the edge to make everybody's life easier, then your life is going to be easier too. So I'm asking here, what's your top priority? I should press the question button, shouldn't I? I promise I'll get rid of that sound. But what is your top priority? Now, one that I haven't talked about here, I suppose, is price. A lot of people will mention price, and those who are selling more expensive products will always answer that that should not come into the argument. Frankly, it just does, because otherwise we'd all be driving around in Rolls Royces. So price point and Freshworks is somewhere in the middle. It's not at the bottom, because we don't want to all be driving around in the cheapest possible cars in the same way we don't want to be in the most expensive cars. But it is at a very attractive price point. So somebody's always going to mention it. It's a dirty word, but yeah, pricing is important. Not everybody can afford to go out and buy a Rolls Royce. Get something that suits your requirements and where you're going to use all of the functionality. There's no point in buying tons and tons of stuff and then letting it sit on the shelf and not using it. So for me, there's so many good things about Freshworks product set that I'm totally on board. But I also love the fact that the customer, or rather the customers, all love the product set as well. And there is a great customer camaraderie and some really good events that go on, and a great online community. And that really comes back to a mantra which Girish put forward in the first place, which was build something your customers will love. And they definitely really do take on board all the feedback from people, and you will see things arriving within the product set because they've been asked for, rather than just because somebody who's a technical coder thinks that that's the latest, greatest important thing that they should add in. So I think for me that sealed the deal. I've now worked with lots of different Freshworks customers, and one of the things that I really like is being able to tell people that there are other people locally who've got their products. So if you happen to be a potential new customer in Glasgow, I could say, hey, Strathclyde University have got the product. Oh, go down and see the guys at East Kilbride Council or West Kilbride Council, or go see Fraser at Calmac. And knowing that these people are around and wanting to get engaged and talk to you, I think that is brilliant as well. So if you are looking for any products, then I would highly recommend you choose one which the customers love, and this has been built as product set around that very mantra. So next button to press. That's me kind of coming to the end of today's live streaming. I know normally I'm interviewing somebody else, but today I've been interviewing myself to some degree. I've mentioned different product requirements. Now, one of the things that I put together, originally it was developed by Aberdeen University, but I've added tons of extra stuff to it, is a mind map of requirements for IT service management tools. If you scan the QR code, connect with me on LinkedIn, drop me a direct message, and then I will send you a copy of that mind map. It's effectively a free download. So I love putting those things together. There's over 250 different requirements, everything from AI right through to the latest Internet of Things and ITOM stuff, all within that mind map. There'll be things on there, I guarantee, that you never knew that you needed, but they're on the list, and you can prioritize it to suit your own requirements. Ultimately, it's always the choice of the customer and never the choice of anybody else as to what you go for. But for me, Freshworks has a lot to offer. If you want to know more about it, then please feel free to give me a shout. Other than that, I think that's pretty much me done for the day. I think I can smell something going on in the background here. I think perhaps my tea's burn. Right, I'll catch you later. Thanks, Simone, for joining us, and anybody else who's out there and being a little bit shy and quiet, come back next week. I'll see you again. Bye for now.